Hello and welcome to another bikepacking video. I'm currently in Southport, about to start the Trans Pennine Trail, which goes from coast to coast in the north of England over the Pennines. The reason I wanted to do this route is because I've actually moved house recently and my new house is on the trail. So I actually get to go via my house and stay over at my own place on one of these adventures, which is going to be cool. As well as that, funnily enough, my mum and dad actually live on the trail as well, just off the trail anyway, in Sheffield. I should be able to get there for Sunday this week, and Sunday is actually Father's Day, so I thought it'd be quite a cool thing to do, surprise my dad on Father's Day and actually get another set of free accommodation. So I'm really looking forward to doing the trail. I'm doing it over 4 days. First day today, I'm starting in Southport, going across to Manchester. Day 2, Manchester to Sheffield over the Pennines. Day 3, Sheffield to my house near Selby, and then day 4, finally Selby to the east coast to Hornsea. It's going to be an epic adventure, and as always, if you want to find out more about the route and how it went for me and some tips and tricks, stay tuned until the end of this video where I run through all of that in detail. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoy the film. after all that, my dad's not even here. He's at a rugby game in Twickenham, so that was a bit of a fail, but never mind. I got to see my mum and got free accommodation out of it, so I can't complain. Anyway, onwards and upwards for day 3 tomorrow. I'm heading out to Selby, so should be a good one. The weather's looking good as well. See you soon. So day 4, I'm heading out to the east coast today, the last leg of the journey. I stayed at my house last night, which was nice. I've managed to clean the bike, get a fresh set of kit on, and just generally feel great. Yeah, it's going to be a good day. Weather looks phenomenal again, 24, 25 degrees. So I'm going to end today hopefully with some fish and chips at the seaside. See you later. Made it to Hornsea. I've got my fish and chips, which I'm desperate for. I'm absolutely starving. It's been a pretty hot day today actually, 25 degrees, and it's just, there's not been any shade pretty much all day, so I'm feeling the heat a little bit. I have actually got to cycle now all the way back home. I had planned on getting a train from Beverley back to Selby and then cycle the rest of the way to my house, but the whole country is on strike, all of National Rail is anyway, so I'm going to have to cycle the whole way back again today. So I'm just going to eat as much of this as I possibly can and have a few minutes to chill, but I've got to crack on really, otherwise it'll be midnight by the time I get home. So glad I made it. It's been an epic trip. Definitely would recommend it, and I will go through all of that, I'm sure, in a bit more detail in the behind the scenes in a minute. Thanks for watching. Thank you very much for watching my film. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. If you liked it, I bring out many more films just like this every single month. So I got the train to Southport, and I've been wanting to do this trail for a while, ever since I moved house, as you'll have heard in the film. I've seen signs for it everywhere, so it's intrigued me. It wasn't something that was at the top of my list until moving, but I'm actually really glad I did it. It was a really exciting route for various reasons. I think it's got something for everybody. There's the terrain, there's a challenge of going over the Pennines, great scenery up there. There's a lot of history as well, so there's a lot of ex-railways and all kinds of things that you can learn about, and there's plaques and signposts across the route where you can stop and chill and read those. So I think there's something for everybody. Like I say, I'm really glad I did it. I started at Southport. I got the train there after work on Friday, and I set off really early on Saturday. The first day's route was probably the least memorable out of the 4 days I did. I just didn't find it that exciting really. It was okay, the terrain was good. There was some relatively nice scenery, but it was just a little bit boring in my opinion. So you start at Southport, you head down to Liverpool and then past John Lennon Airport, and then you basically follow the River Mersey and some canals through Widnes, Warrington and into Manchester. I think if I was going to do it again, I would carry on through Manchester further on day one. I made the mistake of staying in Sale, which is in southwest Manchester, and it just felt like it took a long time the following day to actually get out of Manchester, because you go into the city via Stockport and then over the Pennines. So I think if I was going to do it again, or if you were planning on doing this, head as far east as you can. Try and get out of Manchester if you can, so you've got more time in the better part, in my opinion. Better scenery, more views, just a bit more exciting. So other than that, the first day was relatively straightforward. The only thing I did encounter was a bit of a diversion at Lyme or Lyme, I'm not sure how you pronounce that. Day two, like I said, worked my way through Manchester, got to Stockport, and that's when it started to get really, really good, in my opinion. You head over to Hadfield and you follow another ex-railway past a couple of reservoirs. The weather was mixed on this day. It was quite windy and a few showers, but not too bad. Then you head over to Woodhead Pass. When you get to Woodhead Pass, you do have to go up some very steep terrain, and I'm originally from not far from there, so it was fairly familiar terrain for me. But when you get to the top of that path, you immediately have to cross Woodhead Pass, a very busy road, and then it almost looks like the route disappears. I saw a few mountain bikers going up there. I had to hike the bike up, but I ended up just turning round. There's a lot of people I've seen subsequently who've done that bit of the route and said, don't bother, it's really hard terrain. So I think that's more for walkers. Bearing in mind the Trans Pennine Trail is kind of a multi-use trail. It's for walkers, there's bits for horses, bridle paths, and cyclists as well. So I think that bit probably not the best. I ended up going down to Woodhead Pass and cycling on that road for a good chunk of the way, which is probably not for everybody. It's not the safest of roads. So I followed National Cycle Network 62 for pretty much the whole route. You do end up merging with other bits of the network as well, but 62 was very easy to follow and probably one of the better of the National Cycle Network trails. I followed that down to Penistone via Dunford Bridge, which is another old railway line, which I'd never been to before, and I grew up quite close to there really, so that was quite nice for me to see something new. That was a really nice cycle path actually. When I got to Penistone, you end up coming back into Sheffield and you can go on to Meadow Hall. I didn't do that. I ended up going through the city centre because my parents live at the other side of Sheffield, and I was planning on surprising my dad, which went quite wrong, but fortunately he did come back that night, so it was still a bit of a surprise, just not the surprise that I wanted. But anyway, that's life.
Day 3 then, I set off from Sheffield and I followed the Five Weirs Walk for a little bit, and that took me to Meadowhall, and I was surprised actually at how nice that was. I grew up in Sheffield, and if someone had said you're going to walk to Meadowhall through town and through this path by the river, I would have said that's probably not going to be very nice, don't do it. But actually it was really, really good, and nice smooth surface, hardly anybody about, nice scenery. So that bit to Meadowhall was surprisingly good. You then work your way through places like Elsica, which is a nice rural village on the outskirts of Sheffield, before moving over to the sort of Doncaster way, and it becomes very, very flat. So if you are the sort of person who doesn't like hills, once you're out of Sheffield, it's very, very flat. I worked my way that day to Selby over a lot of farm tracks. Out of the 4 days, I would say that one was the hardest in terms of just logistics. There was a lot of gates, a lot of narrow paths, a lot of bridle gates where you had to basically get off and throw your bike over, unless you can bunny hop, but I can't with all my stuff on. So out of the 4 days, I think that one was the bit that's probably not quite as well developed. It was very beautiful though, and very nice part of the world actually. You end up following the canal up to Snaith area and then on to Selby that way, which again, very quiet, tiny farm tracks, but definitely worth a go. I then made it to my house, so the plan was to use that as a stopping point, which I've never done before. I've always gone wild camping or something miles away from anywhere. But the fact I managed to stay at my house was quite nice. I washed my kit, washed my bike, just had a bit of a breather before setting off the rest of the way. So I cycled then roughly from Selby to Hornsea. The stretch over to Hull is quite nice. You end up going through some nice Yorkshire villages, places like North Ferriby. That takes you down to the Humber estuary, and you can follow that literally under the Humber Bridge, and that's a really nice bit of cycling road as well. Once you get to Hull, it is a little bit of a challenge navigating through. Not the nicest of routes really. It sends you through some really dodgy parts of town, and not the easiest thing to navigate. But once you get through Hull, it's quite a nice straight line to Hornsea. All I would say at this point is the surface of this ex-railway, which is the final bit, is really, really jarring. It needs a resurface. There's loads of tree roots sticking out, and by this point I'd probably done 55, 60 miles and I just had enough. I just wanted to get there, and the bone shaking really didn't help with that. So if you've got suspension or fat tyres, or you're taking it really leisurely, then you'll probably be okay, but it definitely needs sorting at some point because it's not nice to ride. When you get to Hornsea, you'll see a big Trans Pennine Trail marker by the sea, and it's quite a nice finish and start point really. It's a nice beacon that you work towards. I had myself some fish and chips. It was a nice quiet day, very hot, nobody really around, which was lovely. But as I mentioned, there were rail strikes, which meant that I had to cycle all the way back. So I ended up doing 120 odd miles that day. So I was really feeling it when I got home. 4 days of bikepacking and then a very long day at the end. So it was a fantastic trail, and I absolutely would recommend people doing it. If you want to follow the routes, you can just follow the signs. You can also go on the Trans Pennine Trail website, and there's a big map that you can download. It's a little bit of a faff getting on to something like a Garmin, so I've actually gone and plotted that route all 4 days, and I've put those in the description, so they're completely free for you to download. If you want to do the same route as I did, just download those, put them on your bike computer, and you're ready to go. I hope you enjoyed that video. If there's something I've not covered, I'm sure there'll be something I've forgotten, or if you've got any questions, just put them in the comments box below. I'm more than happy to answer those. I will hopefully see you in the next video. Cheers.